Next up is Mike Dennis from Freethink, and Mike has 3 series that they want to put into production this year. Mike, are you out there?
Yeah, hey guys, how's
Come
it
on
going?
in, Mike. It's all yours, buddy.
So hey, what's up? I'm Mike Dennis. I head up revenue and brand partnerships for a company called Freethink Media. And I've got 3 series concepts and a couple of episodes of specific stories that I think would be really interesting to walk through. But just want to tee up what the kind of business framework looks like for those of you who may not be as familiar with Freethink. So Freethink Media, we're a digital publisher. Our big picture mission is we're reimagining the news for a generation that's changing the world. And the thing that makes us different from most other digital media companies is that we were founded by documentary filmmakers, and we're really focused on telling stories at the intersection of innovation and impact. And what we found is that the meeting of those 2 editorial frames create naturally inspiring content. And so at this point, we're publishing to millennial Gen X audiences and have about 9 million social followers, another 6 million on website, and an in-house production team of about 45 people that are developing, producing, and publishing about 150 short docs each year. And ultimately, what we're looking for is a brand sponsor who can help to facilitate additional production and help us reach more people with these stories about the people and ideas who are changing our world. And so for 2021, we've got an editorial slate, which consists of 3 series, and we're focused this year on sustainability, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And so I want to go into each of these. I'm going to frame up the concepts and then again talk about some of the individual stories and episodes here. Each of these series have 20 plus episodes that we'll be publishing beginning this month. And most of them are about 4 to 6 minutes in length. Some of them have cut downs or kind of sidecar story vignettes associated with them as well. And I'll start with a series called Challengers. So I love this series. It is all about the world today and a new generation of entrepreneurs that's taking on big problems with bold solutions and transforming entire industries in the process. So join us as we go to the frontier to meet the innovators behind the headlines and explore the vision behind the change. And so this is all about entrepreneurs with big world-changing ideas. And I'll go through a couple episodes here. The first is one I watched the final cut of this morning. I wasn't expecting to cry this morning, but after watching the final cut, that's just sometimes how your Thursdays go. And this one's called Eterneva. And the headline is this Mark Cuban-backed 27-year-old founder is making diamonds from grandma's ashes and transforming the way Americans grieve. And I'll just read you the story description here. So after losing her mentor, Adele Archer discovered the most painful of moments that few special memorial options existed in a country and culture that avoids death. And knowing others must be feeling similarly, she launched Eterneva, a grief wellness company that creates synthetic memorial diamonds from human ashes with the broader mission of transforming the death care industry in the United States. And in the 8 months it takes for a diamond to be created, Eterneva creates an experience for those grieving, sending pictures, videos, and updates as the diamond is being created. Grief is a long journey, not a one and done with a funeral. And Eterneva is pioneering the idea of grief wellness, a process that involves talking about our loved ones, finding community with others who understand, and finding meaning and purpose through legacy projects. They've doubled their growth year over year since 2017, shaken up the staid funeral industry, and unintentionally made themselves a target of the fearful diamond industry, intent on fending off any and all synthetic diamond competitors. And so the big question here is, can they change the way Americans grieve? And I thought this was just a really interesting story. It's about 6.5 minutes long, and it really does get into some of the deeper themes around how we grieve and the process that individuals use, and really the connection that they have with their remains, the remains of their loved ones. It was unexpectedly a very moving story. And again, that's why I cried this morning. Next up, there was an episode on a company called Flexport. And Flexport is another really fascinating triple unicorn. We actually covered them in 2016. Today, they're valued at over $3 billion in revenue. They employ over 1,500 people. And on the surface, this story is profiling a freight forwarding and logistics company, which sounds super boring. But once you dig a little bit deeper, you really understand the incredible importance of global trade on our daily lives. And beyond that, there are visuals in this story that I think are best represented by some of the headlines that we've seen in the past week, with that gigantic ship that is as large as the Empire State Building getting stuck in the Suez Canal. And the other great thing about Flexport in this story is their CEO, Ryan Peterson, and he's their CEO and founder. His personality is really magnetic, and his enthusiasm helps you believe that nothing helps people improve their lives more than the ability to trade with one another. But for international shipping and businesses, it's still a really cumbersome process. This is a global industry that has evolved over decades. It still relies on paper and fax machines. And if you are disrupting a global trade network, it turns out it's really hard. And so Ryan has certainly faced his lumps along the way. And with the pandemic, he went through a lot of struggles with his own business. They laid off a significant number of their staff. And so in this video, we explore how Ryan was able to rebound and the unique position that Flexport exists in as the world's largest, fastest growing freight forwarder. And so we sit with Ryan and talk candidly about what it takes to overcome the personal challenges of being a CEO. And some of the other stories that we've got in this series explore the future of bionic limbs, cryptocurrency, aviation startups like Boom Aerospace, all through the lens of that upstart business. And I'll keep going here. I've got two more concepts. Next up is just might work. So when you're working on the edge of what's possible, your ideas are bound to raise a few eyebrows. History is filled with ideas that seemed far-fetched at the time, but went on to change the future. Fortunately, those who have decided to take on some of the world's biggest problems are not easily deterred. Can seaweed help curb climate change? Can we use nuclear technology to save towns from tornadoes? In this series, we meet the people whose bold ideas might sound crazy, but also just might work. And I watched the final cut of one of the first episodes we've got coming up called Cleaning Up Space Junk. The headline there is Lasers, Robots, and the Moonshot Mission to Clean Up Space Before It's Too Late. And it was a really fascinating story about a burgeoning problem that most people don't think much about. And it's the fact that near Earth orbit around the planet is becoming one of the largest junkyards known to man. It's currently over 100 million pieces of debris in space. And it's not just floating around out there. It's moving at a speed that's 10 times faster than a bullet. And so what that does is it makes even really small objects like a paint chip potentially devastating to satellites and orbiting space stations. This was the premise for the movie Gravity. And so our team follows a company called ClearSpace, and they are developing what amounts to an orbital tow truck that looks like an octopus. And once it reaches orbit, it's designed to rendezvous with a defunct satellite, match its rotational velocity, and wrap its big metal octopus arms around it before deorbiting and burning up in the atmosphere, all at a cost of over $100 million. And so it's crazy ideas like this which demonstrate a proof of concept and ultimately lead the way for other more cost-effective approaches as we think about cleaning up space. So other stories along these lines, we've got one on robot zoos that could one day replace real animals in captivity. A surprising ingredient in livestock feed that actually reduces methane emissions from cattle. It's one of the leading causes of climate change from the agriculture industry. And a city in Texas that's developing a completely closed loop water system that's affectionately known as toilet to tap. And then the third series that we've got here is called Hard Reset. So change is hard. People have been trying and failing to reform society for generations, but what if we had to? This is a show about rebuilding the world from scratch and reimagining everything from first principles. So how should we design cities? What about schools, power grids, prisons, money, or the internet? We were starting over, what would we do differently? Because in 2021, we are. This is Hard Reset. So just one example from here. this show is pretty early in development, but a couple of topics that are pretty interesting. One is on leather. So textiles in particular can be extremely costly to make in terms of resources, ecological impact, and even human rights. So if we had to start over with fabric and leather, MycoWorks is a company that thinks the solution could be their fine mycelium technology. So it's actually a company that grows mushrooms, and through their technology is able to make a leather replacement that looks and feels like the real thing. So what if we could grow materials like leather with custom shapes and properties without the need for animal sources? And this series is going to explore topics ranging from cities to chicken to manufacturing to buildings, farming, all reimagined from the ground up. And so just to recap, we're looking for brand sponsorship. So something like a brought to you by or custom integrations. Again, it helps us fund additional production and reach more people. So any brands related in content, interested in content related to sustainability, innovation, or entrepreneurship. We've got 20 plus episodes per series, 60 plus in total on the year. All of those are going to be published editorially beginning later this month. And then finally, we've got a new partnership with Axios, where they've agreed to publish our editorial content through their handles as well. So it's a great way to give brands additional exposure to the Axios audience through the kind of great content that focuses again on innovation, sustainability, and entrepreneurship. And that's our 3 series.
Well, thanks, Mike. If you want to go back off of screen share, we'll go back to the people can ask questions and discuss. Boy, first of all, turning family members' ashes to diamonds. What? Right? Do I have that? Did I hear all that right?
Yeah, family members or pets.
Or pets. Oh my God. Wow, there's another pet connection. That, you know, here's my dog, here's my mom. That's an amazing concept. Tell us, can you tell a little bit more? Is that company been around for a while? You mentioned, is it Ena Neva? What?
Yeah, it's Eterneva. So like eternity. Eterneva, yeah. So I believe they were founded in 2017. And it's a really fascinating story because it turns out it's really hard to grow a synthetic diamond. It's even harder to grow a synthetic diamond from human or pet remains. And so what you end up having to do is separate out the actual carbon from those ashes. And then through a proprietary process that they have that takes 8 months, they're growing that synthetic diamond from the carbon contained in those human ashes. And so there's a lot of science involved. You talk about, within the episode, they're talking about just building the supply chain, which doesn't really exist in the United States. There's some capability internationally. And so she's going abroad. She talks about going to Russia. She talks about her dealing with the misogyny in other cultures as she's pitching her business. And it ends up being a really emotional story too, because you see all of these really powerful reactions of family members who get a beautiful diamond to remember their family member by. And so it turns out to be a legitimate story about grief wellness and how people grieve, in addition to the actual business itself.
Wow, incredible story. KP, is that your pet on your head?
It's his cat.
Is anybody else doing that?
Yeah. It's just, it spooks us whenever we get on Zoom calls for the show because it's his default picture.
He's already wearing his animal and it's still alive.
Hat cat.
That's beautiful.
I really liked it.
Go ahead, Stuart.
I thought those the last 2 you pitched, those really resonated. Those were ideas that had a lot of hook to it. Just might work. I mean, my brain was going that you could incorporate so many different brands into that. And then the other one, excuse me, what was the second one you did?
Hard reset.
Hard reset. Oh, that was the last one was hard reset.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was just my work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are right in line with where I think things are trending in the world. Those are fascinating.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So hard reset, so many different topics. And how many of these have been produced, Mike? Are there some that are ready now?
Yeah, so these are going to be going on a rolling basis. We've been in development for about 4 months now. We wrapped production on probably 15 of those episodes, but we're going to be continuing development and production on another 45 or so this year. So they'll be rolling out starting in April, and then each series will be publishing a new episode every other week through the end of the year.
So, and then tell us about distribution and the Freethink network. And
yeah, so Freethink has a number of different social channels that we publish on, but primarily Facebook and YouTube. We also acquired a company at the end of last year called BigThink, and BigThink has been around since 2007. They've got another 7 million social followers. And so distribution on our owned and operated channels through Facebook, YouTube, and our website. And then the Axios partnership is also a new one for us. They were really interested in the quality of the content that our team was able to churn out at volume. And so one of the things it does is it creates premium pre-roll inventory for large brands that are also looking to run media campaigns around it. And so they have a partnership with Twitter. And so we, through this three-way partnership, are publishing our editorial content through Axios and creating opportunities for brands to both sponsor those shows and buy pre-roll inventory against them. So lots of distribution options available, but those are the two primary ways we're thinking about it.
well, I'm thinking about companies in our network that would be, that are aligned with entrepreneurship. Adam Palmer had to drop off.
Yeah.
GoDaddy is certainly all about that. They've got a series right now about following entrepreneurs and their dreams. Their GoDaddy is all about entrepreneurship. So is MailChimp, and we have a couple of members from MailChimp in the network. Sarita Alami runs the MailChimp studio. Happy to introduce you to her. She's in charge of all MailChimp content. And then we also have Chris Drago, who's just joined MailChimp from HPE, who runs media and advertising for them. So that
Cool.
those are a couple. On the innovation side, I got to think about IBM, HP, and HPE. HP tells so many stories about the HP garage where it was founded in Palo Alto. They're a rich storyteller, very much about innovation. Of course, Intel. We could talk to Brett Lyons at Intel, Microsoft, and perhaps T-Mobile. Those are just a few ideas. I love these stories. I love the hard reset as well, and thinking about things that really need a hard reset. How about social media? What if we were to do that all over again?
Yeah, those are great suggestions. Thank you.
Anybody else? Input, ideas, collaboration? Anything in the chat here? Well, we're bumping up right up against 20 minutes then. So unless anyone has any final remarks that they'd like, I will make them. I want to congratulate all three presenters today. This is great stuff. And I can't wait. We're recording this, of course. We'll cut them into 3 different 20-minute segments so that you can all distribute it through your networks, and we will as well. So we can send these videos to all the companies that we've talked about that would be prospects for any one of these presentations. I love this, everybody. Thank you so much for participating. Let's make these stories come to life, right?